7 minutes away from 10 o'clock news time to talk technology. Mathew Dickerson, a very good morning to you.
What a depressing entry, Nick.
No, it's important that we discuss death. It's important we get acclimatised and get better death literacy. I'm well on board with it, and it's actually a fantastic podcast if you get a chance to have a listen to it. New season of the Pineapple Project featuring Jan Fran. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about mobile phone tracking technology. We normally worry about whether people can find out where we are using our mobile phones, but of course there are some times when we'd want that very, very much.
Yeah, that's right. And emergency services is one of those times. And we had the very scary situation only a few months ago where the police knocked on our door at home. And we opened the door and they said, have you got a daughter named? And they named one of our daughters. We said, yes. And of course, your heart sinks straight away when you've got police knocking at your door. So we've just received a 000 call from her. Is she okay? And we're looking around, my wife, myself, going, well, she's not in the house. She's in Sydney. She's at university at the moment. And so anyway, we contacted her and she was out at the races with a few friends and accidentally pocket dialed 000. Whoops.
Okay, whoops indeed.
No alcohol involved, of course, Nick. But what it points out is that the technology in place at the moment is pretty crude. The police did the right thing. They received the 000 call, didn't get any further details, looked up the account and saw that the address was here in Dubbo that her phone was registered at. So they came and knocked on the door there. What's being progressed now, and it still will be a few months away, but you'll be able to actually use whatever telephone carrier you're with, will be able to use that information, pass it on to the emergency services when a 000 call is made to track your location. And the biggest issue emergency services have is, especially in regional areas, let's say you're driving between Dubbo and Wellington and you see an accident on the side of the road, you pull over to help someone, you ring 000 and they say, where are you? And you say, oh, about 15 kilometres outside Wellington. What's the nearest crossroad? Oh, I don't know. I'm here trying to help someone. And so can you work it out? About 15 k's where I am. And the operator, who's not sitting in Dubbo, isn't familiar with Dubbo and Wellington. They might be sitting in Perth or in Tasmania. They could be anywhere, so they need a cross street. But this technology, and it involves a collaboration, firstly from the telcos to be able to have that information able to be legally passed on to the back end of the 000 operators, and then that back end linkage there to be able to have that. So the telcos will have it up and running by about June this year, and the back end syncing or linkage, if you like, will be going probably by the end of the year. So it's still a little way away, but it's a good step.
It might surprise a few people because you watch TV and you kind of assume that people can track you down to the square foot using your mobile phone with all ease. Yeah.
Zoom in and focus.
But clearly this will save lives.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a really good idea. And again, I think you're right. Many people would expect the authorities to already know where you are, but obviously they don't, and they need that information to be able to be passed along legally. Now, it doesn't mean that I'll be able to say, gee, I wonder where Nick Healy is today. I'll just go and pick up my phone and just track where he is. It's not going to have that sort of ability. It's only going to be when you make a 000 call.
Of course, the concern is with anything like this, at the moment it's 000. We do get a thing that's often called scope creep, where other authorities start getting the permission to use technology like this. We certainly saw it with metadata when that was coming in and was such a big deal. We had applications from people like Greyhounds Victoria asking to access people's metadata. Hopefully we won't see anything like that with this.
Oh, it's possible, absolutely possible, but I think we need to make that first step and make it safer for people, and then really just keep an eye on it both from an authority perspective, but also from the public. If you see something like an organisation applying for this data that it shouldn't be getting, then you need to jump up and down about it. So it's something that we all need to be vigilant in, that data security.
Matthew, moving on a little bit, you wouldn't expect a cyber attack to have an impact on wool sales across Australia, but this one has.
Unbelievable. There's one software company in particular that controls about 75% of the wool trades in Australia and New Zealand. So it's not just Australia, it's Australia and New Zealand. And they had a cyber attack. It was a ransomware attack. And as we know, a ransomware, they basically encrypt your files, send you a note to say, by the way, I'd like a couple of dollars, thanks. Maybe put a few zeros after those couple of dollars.
Please do.
And I'll unencrypt all your files for you. Now, it's a very dangerous path to go down because I don't know that I'd particularly trust a scammer to give them some of my money to say, oh, thanks, unencrypt those files. Because they might then say, well, actually, I'm not going to, or I'd like some more money now, thanks. Or
now that I know you've got 1,000, I'd like 10,000.
That's right, exactly right. So this particular company did the right thing and said no, but they're now restoring all their systems from backup. And that took some time. So basically up and going it was yesterday, but for almost a week before that, you could not do a wool trade in Australia and New Zealand, almost, because there was still some other avenues, but when 75% of the market's been taken out, that pretty much brings it to a screaming halt. So just quite scary.
And we're talking about a lot of money too. I mean, wool trade can be worth between, I think, $60 and $80 million a week.
Every week, yeah. So that's just in Australia. So it is a big trade. And obviously, you think of those poor old farmers out there who've been having some pretty tough times. Imagine you actually managed to get some wool off your sheep and you want to go and sell it, and then, sorry, we've had a ransomware attack, we can't sell your wool for a week. Well, bad luck. It's a pretty tough situation. And I've often talked about it, Nick. The next world wars won't be fought with nuclear warheads. They'll be fought by people sitting in back rooms, not doing cyber attacks on a wool trading company, which brought one industry to its knees. They'll do attacks on countries and bring an entire country to its knees.
We have already been worried about it for quite a while. I did want to talk about the Pope and artificial intelligence because that blew my mind, but we don't have time. We're going to have to save it for another day. Mathew Dickerson, thank you very much. We'll talk again in a fortnight.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, the Pope and AI. Save that one or go and look it up yourselves. It's pretty fascinating.